All right, folks, I need you all to stop what you're doing and listen up. You know I love this time of year, right? The NBA players are in full effect. And with all this action jumping off, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you take advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you can win up to 2,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code SAS and download the app now. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, hey, run your game. Madison Square Garden is going to be on fire tonight. It's going to be lit. My New York Knicks are back in the building and lead the series 3-2 against the reigning defending NBA champion, Boston Celtics. Can they close out tonight? That's the question, all right? Well, guess what? They better. I'm giving you my picks for tonight's game, so let's get right to it. First up, will Jalen Brunson score more or less than 29.5 points? Why the hell would I say less? It's got to be more. The brother's averaging over 36 a game after loss. I got to go with that. It's definitely got to be more. Next up, will Mitchell Robinson score more or less than 4.5 points? It's a damn shame I got to even ask that question for a 7-footer, you know. But I'm going to say it anyway. I think the brother's going to score more than 4.5 points because I think he's going to hit a free throws, and he's definitely going to get fouled a lot because Missoula's going to try to take him out of the game by fouling him intentionally. So I'm going to go with more on that one as well. Next up, will Jaylen Brown score more or less than 25.5 points? He's the $304 million man. He showed up and dropped 26 points and 12 assists, the career high in the postseason, 12 assists, by the way. Jaylen Brown is going to show up at the Garden tonight. It ain't going to be about those assists. It's going to be about points. He's going to need to score points in bunches in order for the Boston Celtics to have a chance. I do believe he's going to score more than 25.5 in this particular game, although I expect him to lose anyway. And finally, will Derek White score more or less than 20.5 points? The brother just hit 7 3-pointers. I'm not going to think he's going to go from hitting 7 3-pointers and dropping 34 points and not scoring 20 damn points. I got to believe he's going to do that as well. It ain't going to be enough. But for the moment, I'll look at him and I'll give him that opportunity. I think everybody else will probably be shut down, but I think Derek White and Jaylen Brown will answer the call from a points production standpoint. So that's more for Jalen Brunson, more for Mitchell Robinson, more for Jaylen Brown, and more for Derek White. We're talking about Prize Picks. We're all about more, people. We're all about more. So go to Prize Picks app and check out the Stephen A. Smith Show community play. It's boosted at 25%, just so you know. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you, as I love to do, at the very least 3 times a week over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I like to pause, and before I get into anything, to take a moment to thank my listeners, my followers, my subscribers. The show's popularity continues to grow, and it wouldn't be the case if it were not for you. So I sincerely thank you for your contribution to the show, courtesy of millions of downloads over iHeartRadio over the last several months, not to mention a subscriber base on YouTube that has now eclipsed 1.22 million. Again, the love and support is deeply appreciated. I thank you, and my team thanks you from the bottom of my heart. To continue to like and follow the show, and you want to get notified for our newest content, just click the bell in the right-hand corner, and you too shall consider yourself the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing that, please make sure to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Just go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. This is a special kind of show. It's a little bit different today because I'm going to have some of my boys in the house. It's sort of like a Freedom Friday kind of thing going on. Just a bunch of fellas with yours truly freelancing about whatever topics are on their mind. These are dudes that I grew up with. I want to be very, very clear. I'm not responsible for the things that come out of their mouth and the things that they say, because I'll be damned if I know what they gonna say from topic to topic. These are my boys from Queens, New York, so they're gonna be in the house hanging with me today. We'll get into all of that a little bit later. First order of business is to get started in New York, however. In a federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial against Sean Diddy Combs, defense attorneys for Combs picked back up with their cross-examination of Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend. The judge determined today would be her last day on the stand, as Cassie is 9 months pregnant and could go into labor at any moment. She's considered a key witness in the trial, who so far testified about physical abuse, Diddy's temper, and her participation in freak-offs, the drug-fueled sex performances he orchestrated as well. Cassie's testimony is laying a critical foundation for both the prosecution and the defense. I'll get into that in a second. Today, she was asked about text messages exchanged between her and Combs in the days after the infamous Intercontinental Hotel beating in 2016 that we all saw on video a few months ago. In the messages, Combs expressed desire to engage sexually with Ventura. Under cross-examination, Ventura confirmed she thought it was strange he would suggest something sexual after what happened at the hotel. Here's a portion of that text exchange. Combs wrote, quote, "I felt that way from Friday, the day of the altercation," end quote. Cassie responded, quote, "What are you doing? Not a good vibe. We need a different vibe than Friday," end quote. Diddy responded, quote, "Friday, laugh out loud. I don't even want to do that again," end quote. Cassie, quote, "Laugh out loud. True." And in the following messages, Combs referenced a card and told Ventura that he loved her. Cassie responded, quote, "Love you," end quote. Look, y'all. These things can get complicated, yet can be very, very simple. So let me try to simplify it as best as I possibly can. Number one, if you are Diddy, your number one priority is to make sure you're not spending 15 to the rest of your natural life in jail. 15 years to the rest of your natural life in jail for sex trafficking and racketeering. So what you're trying to do is show there's a significant level of consensual behavior taking place here to eradicate the notion that you're some sex trafficker or racketeer. That's basically what you're trying to do. But in the process of doing that, he's further incriminating himself, his defense team that is, because they're fully acknowledging that what we've seen on video already and what she's elaborated on extensively was a history of physical violence against her that included black eyes and urination and all of this other stuff. They're essentially acknowledging that that's true. So life, as Diddy once knew, is over. The commercials, the Ciroc commercials and the parties and all, nah, that's over. That's over. Being accepted by the status quo, being a major player and influencer in the world of Hollywood and hip hop and beyond, it's over. But again, the case is a federal one. It involves sex trafficking and racketeering as opposed to domestic violence, which is a state crime. And so because of it, you sort of understand where his defense team is coming from. And in that regard, as incriminating as it may be to be considered what he is at this particular moment in time, I mean, women, everywhere I've looked, you have one woman after another using the word repulsive and repugnant and a lot of other things that I'm not going to say. This is how they're feeling about him. He can't be overly concerned about that when he's trying to avoid being behind bars for the rest of his life. The other side is Cassie, and that's where it gets tricky. Because purportedly being raped, you were still in his life for a significant period of time thereafter. And those text messages that were just shown after he beat you, after he assaulted you, laugh out loud, let's have a different vibe than Friday. That's not something you expect to hear in the immediate aftermath of being thrown to the ground, kicked, hit, having a glass vase thrown at you, at your head. That's not something that you're expecting to read. That's not a level of communication you're expecting to witness, to hear about. It's just the truth. And so now we're going to find ourselves as a society addressing several issues. And I think that it's dangerous to do this. I wouldn't advise people to do it, but people are already doing it if you listen to what people are saying in their comments and beyond about this trial. They're saying, okay, she's bringing this up now. You know, he's under arrest and, you know, hell hath no fury. I want to hear that. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. But you got people talking that stuff. They're going to look at her and they're going to question the legitimacy of her victimhood because that's what the defense is doing. And they're going to look for her level of culpability in the consensual element of their relationship to offset, if not completely debunk, accusations and allegations that she was somehow assaulted or beyond. These are all details we don't need to get into, but they're unavoidable from the standpoint of recognizing what the case is, what one argument is being made compared to what the other argument is being made. And to the prosecution, she's a key witness. They came out swinging with her. I got that part too. But the fact that she's pregnant and she's detailed what she has detailed, and still they've been able to gather text message exchanges between her and Diddy in the aftermath of these physical encounters and ordeals she was forced to endure. They're saying, were you really forced? Did you not invite this? Was this not par for the course? I don't know where to go beyond that, but I'm going to say this as a man because I think it's important to say this. You can look at it two ways when it comes to a husband, because we got to say this, ladies, because I got ladies in the studio. We got to say this. It's important. You do. All I'm going to do is personalize it. If it were me, although in no way would I question whether or not I believed my wife if she said she was raped and assaulted. I would definitely believe her, and I would be in the courtroom to support her. I would say, at the very least, can we all concede that stuff is pretty hard to listen to? I'm talking about the consensual stuff. I'm talking about the consensual stuff involving multiple men. I'm talking the consensual stuff involving acts that included those men. And that's recognizing that there's a believability factor in terms of her being assaulted. It would be really hard to listen to all of that. And I think that's why when we see some of these comments and people commenting on the case and stuff like that, you have certain people who feel one way and certain people who feel another way because they're taking all of this evidence into consideration and they're asking themselves, what if it was them that was sitting in the courtroom? What if it was them that was sitting on that stand? What if it was them that were detailing some of these things that transpired? What if it was them that had that experience against P. Diddy? P. Diddy, no matter what way you slice it, he looks horrible. Horrible. But for the purposes of the trial, the question is, does he look like a sex trafficker or racketeer? If the answer to those two questions are no, you know what the bottom line is? You can't get convicted, at least in this case, for being an absolutely horrible, repulsive human being. Are you a sex trafficker and racketeer, or are you not? That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Coming up, the WNBA season tips off this week, and I've got a preview of what we can expect to see this season. But first, there's the conference semifinals that's about to come to an end this weekend in the NBA. Will the Knicks finally put away the Celtics? And will the Thunder put away the Nuggets? I'll break it all down, and you'll never, ever guess who it's with. You probably won't know them, but I assure you, once you finish listening to them, you will. They're my boys. And when you got boys, ladies and gentlemen, you love them to death, no matter how crazy their asses are. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about in a minute. This is Stephen A. Smith Show. free flowing on this Friday. Don't go away, although I'm scared to stay. Back with more in a minute. All right, everybody, listen up. With all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. To make a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. Choose from any of your favorite players, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, and Zach LaVine, all in the same entry. Then sit back and watch. The list is absolutely endless. You can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50. Just use promo code SAS and download Prize Picks right now. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show. Let's get to the NBA playoffs for a second, where the conference semifinals come to an end this weekend. We'll start the Eastern Conference, where the New York Knicks have a chance to close out the defending champion Boston Celtics at Madison Square Garden. The Celtics are without Jason Tatum, who went down this week with the Achilles injury, and somehow the Knicks found a way to get blown out Wednesday in Boston in Game 5. I could get to it. I could get to how urgent this game is for the New York Knicks. They don't need to be thinking about going back to Boston for Game 7. Close the damn thing out now. I could say that and just leave it at that. But I didn't want to do that for y'all on this particular Friday. Rather than just give my opinions, my humble opinions, to the audience at large, I wanted to introduce a few people to you. As I've told y'all on many, many occasions, I have several friends, lifelong friends, some of my best friends on the planet. And a few of them are in studio. They insisted on it. They've been waiting for this moment because they believe the camera, the audience, belongs to them. At least two of them think that way. Let me give you the first one. This is my brother right here. My man Shaq Diesel knows him well. Uncle Jerome knows him well. I know him well. One of my best friends in the world. Money Mark is what they call him. The world knows him as Money Mark. I'm talking about my man Mark Stevens. What's up, big time?
Man, how you doing today?
Oh, see, there you go with the Barry White voice. Anyway, let me move on before I get to him. Let me get to my next guest right here. My college teammate, my college buddy, one of my best friends in the world. Sorry, Mont. Sorry, Phil. Sorry, everybody that y'all couldn't make it in the studio as well. But Spank's here for all of y'all, including you, Turner, Ski, Boris, all of y'all. Spank is in the house for y'all. My man, Gary Stevens, my college teammate at Winston-Salem State University, and this brother right here. Ladies and gentlemen, me and this brother go back since we were 5 years old, growing up in Hollis, Queens together. We've been friends for over 52 years. The man himself, my man Cardell Brooks. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm all as well. All as well. I'm digging this.
You digging this? What you digging about it, man? What you digging about it?
Hey, whoever thought somebody from Hollis, Queens would be moving and shaking like this? I'm loving this.
You loving this? You loving it? You cool with that? I see the LV on the shirt with the glasses, Monk.
We see the
diamond.
diamond.
I had to wear small to represent the Knicks.
That's what that is?
Oh, yeah.
So that's all about representing the Knicks?
That's it.
When you give a damn about the Knicks?
Well, I love the Knicks.
When? I ain't never heard you say that.
Worldwide
All the years
West.
I know you ain't hear you say that.
Worldwide West.
So that's what it's about?
Best
It's
executive
Worldwide West?
VP there is.
Oh,
Leon
my God.
Rose. Best general manager there is.
William Wesley, general manager under Leon Rose. Not really officially the general manager, but he's an executive under Leon Rose for the New York Knicks. We all know. So you represent Worldwide West, right?
No question.
And Spank, you just here representing the fellas, right?
I'm here, representing the fellas.
So let me ask y'all this question, because I got a bunch of stuff that I want to get into, y'all. We free flowing today, so we can talk about whatever the hell y'all want to talk about, right? But not before we get the NBA playoffs out the way. The Knicks winning tonight?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Broadway. It was meant to be.
That's what you got?
Encore.
So it was meant to be.
Encore.
Oh, shit. Go ahead, Cardell. Because you text me all the damn time with these sports questions.
Me and you already had this conversation. You had the Knicks. You had Boston winning.
Yeah, of course I did.
5 games. I told you that won't happen. I told you I have Boston winning in 7 games.
Okay.
I still feel that way.
You still think Boston's going to beat the Knicks?
Yes, sir.
You think they're coming back, they're beating the Knicks game 6 tonight?
Yes, sir.
I can't believe you flew in the studio just to tell me that shit.
You can say whatever you want. The truth is the truth. They do not have an answer for
Jaylen Brown?
No.
Derek White?
No.
You gonna tell me Cornette?
Yes,
don't even know
Cornette.
his
They don't
name.
have an answer for Cornette.
Cornette. So he has one game where he gets 7 blocks, 5 blocks in the third quarter. One game. Now they don't have an answer for him.
And shook the whole team Wednesday night. You can say whatever you want. We can argue back and forth about this all day. They didn't have an answer for him. They did not. And that's why they lost.
Let me go to the one reliable basketball mind that I can lean on for this crew right here. You, Spank, what's up?
I think they got it tonight. I think
Right.
the energy of the Garden is going to take them over the top.
Right. Let me ask y'all this quick question. If I had my druthers at this moment in time, the dream matchup in the finals, based off of the teams left, would be New York versus Ant-Man in Minnesota.
Money Mark, what did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Nah.
I told you Minnesota is going to take this.
Do you think they're going to win it?
No.
Talking to the mic so the audience can hear you,
No.
Spank.
Yeah, they're going to win it?
No, I didn't say they were going to
Okay.
win it. What I'm telling you is right now, Minnesota is a young, strong, vibrant team. They still need time to mesh. They still need time to get the chemistry. But you give them next year,
That wasn't the question.
the question
was
is
this year.
No, they're not going to take it this year. I
Okay,
didn't
there
answer
you
that question.
go.
I said that first.
He said the best final.
Let me switch gears. Let me get off subject here from the sports and talk to y'all. Spank, you've
Yes.
laughed a lot.
Yes,
you know,
I
your laugh is one of the things I hate a lot. I love
Yep.
you,
Yep.
but that damn laugh of yours makes
It's sinister.
It's ridiculous. It's so annoying. But let me ask you this question. Not you, Spank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark and Cardell, y'all had a long-standing relationship with one another. And in straight comedy, y'all constantly going back and forth with one another. Why are y'all all, as much as y'all got love for each other, y'all are fighting all day, every day? Why, Mark?
He's the yin, I'm the yang. You know, he brings out the best of me. We was on the plane, and by the way, he came through the airport like he's about to rob somebody with a do-rag and some flip-flops on.
Oh, the Cardell came through the airport with a do-rag and flip-flops.
With the hoodie on.
Atlanta airport, Cardell, with a do-rag and flip-flops.
Cardell came through the airport comfortable. Comfortable. I'm tired of taking my shoes off with the shoestrings. I'm tired of taking my belt off, my pants falling down. I came in there with my sweats, flip-flops.
Get pre-check, man.
Get what?
Pre-check.
My money ain't as long as yours.
It's like $90.
I ain't got $9.
You ain't got $90?
No, sir.
You ain't got $90?
No, sir.
You ain't got $90?
My boys ain't trying to put me on or nothing.
So you walk through the airport with a do-rag and flip-flops?
Which, listen, I was comfortable.
That's
I
a
woke
real
up this
flop
morning.
with that walk, too.
I woke up this morning
Should have seen him, man.
trying to catch my flight, and I'm getting texts saying, yeah, your flight is delayed, your flight is delayed, your flight is delayed. Come on, I knew what was going to happen at the airport. I'm just comfortable, man.
So the flight was delayed, and you knew you was gonna be comfortable, so you just showed up in flip-flops to the door. I thought you cared about. I thought you cared about how the ladies saw you. I thought you cared about appearances, and showing up with do-rag and flip-flops in the airport in public ain't the most attractive thing in the world.
Listen.
Speak up, man. The audience needs to
Listen,
hear
y'all
y'all.
gonna put me. Listen, I ain't no shame in my thing. I came to the airport in my sweats, my flops, my Scully on, and I'm comfortable. But look how the world see me now. I'm the smoothest
He had
thing
his white,
since the
he had
pool
his
bowl
white
right
feet
now.
on, too.
Hold on, you the smoothest thing since
Since
what?
the pool bowl.
The pool ball? I'm
What's
gonna
the
let
pool
that
ball?
roll. I
Pool
have
bowl.
no idea what that
You
is.
see the pool balls is nice and smooth. Don't. Let's go. Come on. 'Cause
Spank, what's it like listening to these two go
Y'all
at
trying
it?
to
Oh,
put me back
man.
into a corner.
First of all, them two is wild, but Bobby and Cardell.
Yeah, Bobby was stuck in
Sharks.
Florida. Bobby couldn't make it from Florida to here in time. That's why I didn't bring him.
That's the ultimate Dumb and Dumber show. They're arguing and they don't even know what they arguing about.
I was doing argument. I know what I'm arguing about with Mark. Listen, y'all see things.
Them
y'all
two
want?
have, the women issues. They talk
What's the
about.
woman issue? What's the woman issue with you and Cardell, Mark? What's the woman issue?
So here's what's so crazy. I know we're gonna go to another topic, but we was on the way here talking about Diddy,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And I said, to me, he's uncivilized.
Okay. Go
I said,
ahead.
he's uncivilized. He thinks
Right.
from the waist down.
He's uncivilized from the waist down.
No control, no self-control. But listen, I was just stating the facts. And you know, Cardell has his own perspective on it, man.
What was his perspective, Mark? I mean, from your interpretation, what was it?
He said, man, it's gonna be 8 weeks. Approximately 8 weeks of testimony. We need to just wait and hear how it's gonna pan out. And it might be some light at the end of the tunnel.
So you don't have a problem with, you have a problem with Cardell's position about the 8 weeks?
No, I didn't have a problem with that. I had a problem with him saying that Puffy, he basically tried to say it was Cassidy.
I did not.
Not Diddy.
I did not.
You would say
She
that.
was the one uncivilized.
I did not. And that's his interpretation, and people's interpretation is their reality. That's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said it's 8 weeks. At the end of the day, it's a lot that's going to be going on with Puffy in this whole thing. Here's my take on Puffy. Here's my take on Puffy. I got the same take about Puffy, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, all of them. These people are who they are, and people want to be around them. People want to be around them. When you realize who these people are, when you realize who these people are and the position that they're in, you need to ask yourself, can I really fit into their lifestyles? Now, let me be clear on this. Let me be crystal clear so everybody understand. I do not condone any aspect of this man's behavior from what I know and have seen. I do not condone it. Like Mark said, I think he's uncivilized. I called him a savage. That's what I called him.
You call it Diddy savage?
Yes, he's a savage. With that being said, when the world found out about this Cassidy thing, we found out about it, what, 2021, 22?
Yep.
That tape of him in that hotel happened 2016.
That's right. 9 years ago.
9 years ago. My take on this is when you realized the straight savagery of this man, why did it take you so long to leave? Now, everybody's saying she's trying to leave. She's trying to leave in that hotel. What took her so long?
But you do concede and understand. She's young, she's impressionable. She's young, she's impressionable. She wanted to be a success in the business. He had all the power. As a result, he had the ability and the power to manipulate her career, her future aspirations, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention that he was incredibly powerful and he could have done her even more harm if there actually can be more harm. I'm just talking about based on the reports of what he has done, which are despicable and repulsive, and we all know this, okay? So based off of that reality, the mindset is you have a lot of young ladies out there. Unfortunately, if you're in this position, sometimes it takes this amount of time for you to gumption up the courage to confront things publicly and put the world on notice that you actually endured these experiences.
He had the professional control.
Is it courage or I'm willing to accept this because I want to be a part of this lifestyle? See, that's my question.
It can't be that because she
Sure
left.
it can.
Your argument is it took her so long to leave, but like anything else, it's a psychosis. She was battered.
But let me just say this. Let me jump in on this. Here's my take on it. It's a sad situation because we giving names like savages and stuff like that, but we negating the fact that they both was drug addicts.
No.
So when you, hold on.
Go for it.
When you under the influence on as much drugs they reporting they were doing, your actions is really not in control. That we are sitting here civilized saying that.
Well, we can say that, but the courts clearly don't feel that way because you got the prosecution that's saying we know about some of the drug use and all of this other stuff, but it still doesn't absolve you from sex trafficking. It still doesn't absolve you from racketeering. And a federal courtroom is willing to entertain the prosecution's defense to decide whether or not you will deserve to be in jail for the rest of your natural life. So clearly drug use ain't an excuse.
But here's the issue though. We not talking about domestic violence and drugs use. We talk about a RICO charge and stuff like that.
Wait a minute.
No.
Let me correct you.
Sure.
Let me correct you.
Go ahead.
The prosecution is talking about sex trafficking
Correct.
and racketeering.
Correct.
The defense is talking about domestic violence.
Correct.
Because the defense knows that this is a federal case involving sex trafficking
Correct.
and racketeering, and that domestic violence, which is a state crime, doesn't
Correct.
equate to the federal crimes that he's being charged with. So they're willing to acknowledge and admit how guilty they are of domestic violence, but the prosecution is saying, we want to use the domestic violence to
Correct.
illustrate how despicable this dude is, so you will see that he deserves to be in jail when we make our case for sex trafficking and racketeering.
Yeah, but
what I'm addressing with the drugs is how we saying the savage piece and this, that, and the other.
That's just conduct.
That's conduct that
He was a savage.
drugs contribute to, though.
yeah, but
Because let me ask you all this.
go ahead.
Prior to all of this, Puffy, as the entrepreneur and the cultural influence he was, how we go from such a high standard to such a low
Because we
standard.
didn't know all the details.
We didn't know all the details.
But
and
I'm gonna bring this up now. We all been a part of that industry. How we know that success and fame and what that does. And to your point of what she wanted to be,
We've seen a lot of cases, Spank, we've been around for a long time. We've seen a lot of cases involving, fame and sex and stuff like that. We saw what happened with R. Kelly. We're seeing what's coming, what's being divulged about Diddy. That ain't everybody, bro. That ain't most people. Most people ain't doing this. You're not hearing that? Go ahead, cut
And
up.
I'll do you one
difference.
better. I'll do you one even better. Let's take Stephen A. for an example. This is a guy who me and him grew up the same way, same opportunities, things like that. To the world, he's Stephen A. To me, he's just Steve. So yeah, if I saw him conducting himself in a way that I know that is not who we are as people,
Right.
no way in the world I'm going to condone that. Now, getting back to your point real quick, you said with this whole thing is spilling from the drugs and all that stuff, right? If
fame, industry,
fame and drugs,
all of that. Yep.
Name one Cassidy song that made her famous. Name one. If you can name one, we good. But at the end of the day, if you're going to give her a pass because of drugs, you got to do the same for him. And that ain't going to happen.
No, I'm saying the contribution of it all, it's a big perfect storm is what I'm saying.
And what you're trying to
That's
say
all.
is they're both victims of success.
No, sir.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
me personally, I just believe that the germ led to a virus that led to a disease. It got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and
Correct.
bigger.
Correct.
And now is at the point that the world is seeing it.
Correct.
If you got if I got a problem and only me and you know about it, we can work it out.
Correct.
The minute it start growing bigger and bigger and everyone else knows and other people have to step in, it's a real
And
problem.
to your point,
What about the world we're living in today? Everybody got a podcast. Everybody think they got a voice. Everybody want to be in front of the camera because now, shoot, you can make $75,000, $100,000 a year. Your regular job, you go on YouTube and you get you get the right amount of audience. You can make much more than that, and you can work in your own hours, your own time, the whole bit. You might not even have to leave the house for crying out loud. And because of that, the world has changed. But it seems like it's one thing where so many people were chasing popularity, was chasing fame. But I don't think there's ever been a time in life where it has been perceived as being more obtainable than it is now because of the outlets available to everybody out there. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
Me personally, I think social media and these podcasts, to me, this is just like a child who's found his parents' loaded gun in the house and just waving it around. Social media is no one's friend. It's no one's friend. And it's very dangerous if you don't know how to deal with it. And the world is seeing that everybody really can't deal with it. Everybody really don't know how to handle it.
What do you think the temptation is today? Like, for example, if you're one of the fellas, let me explain. If you're one of the fellas, all right, women. That was always the case. That was always a temptation. Money, that was always a temptation. You understand? Fame, prestige, and those are the elements that come with it, along with perks, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things come with it. Why is it that you think people appear so ill-equipped to handle it today than in years past? Or was it just as bad years ago and it's just getting exposed now? Go ahead, Spank, I'll get that to you first.
Let me say this. I say this to people when I'm having this discussion. human behavior never changes. It's how it's displayed that illuminates that behavior. Social media is just illuminating people who they are. So if you that insecure person without the social media, you're gonna be that insecure person on social media. So human behavior never changes. Like I tell you, like the first post, we going way back now. The first public post about somebody was in the bathroom stall.
Yeah.
Such and such is a hoe.
It's kind of true. It's kind of true. It's kind of
Yeah, you don't went too far back. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't went too far back, dude.
Show the age, right? But now that post is on Instagram, Twitter. That same post is on there. And then you have people arguing and fighting. We've seen that. How many times we wait outside school waiting for a fight to happen?
Mark, what about you? What you think? Because you're around a lot. We ain't gonna tell your business in terms of, you know, you working with celebrities, parties, all of this stuff. You've been on the scene for a long time. You know this stuff backwards and forward. What's it all about today?
You have to have great gatekeepers.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, you mentioned Uncle Jerome and Uncle,
Chat. Yep.
yeah, and Uncle Mike.
Yep.
If it wasn't for those two as gatekeepers to implement and take you through that rites of passage, you know, most of these young kids, they young and they haven't went through the rites of passage of going through trials and how to deal with conflict. And when you start implementing money and prestige and fame, it's a lot for someone to handle. Hell, it's a lot for grown men to handle.
Right.
So when you talk about somebody at an age of, you know, 21, 22, 23, a young female at 21, 22, 23, and she's getting a whole bunch of likes or thumbs up on her phone, you know, she might start walking around with attitude. The guys walk around with attitude because they believe in their mind people know them. And irregardless if we look at it as insignificant people, right, and their character, they believe that their popularity is growing.
I'm almost scared to ask y'all this. I'm gonna go to Cardell first on this, but somebody dared me to ask y'all this. How would you compare me to the typical well-known figure out there? For better or worse, I am well-known. We on this show. What would it be about? As my man that's known me for a half century. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. I knew it.
No, you know what? Ask me the question here, because I'm gonna make sure I'm getting this, because you go ahead.
How would you look at me, comparing me to a typical public figure that you just talked about? How am I different, if at all, from the folks that you see out there?
I'm a firm believer in this. Stephen A is a brand. That's what you are. You got so many things going on.
My boy Rashawn would be very proud to hear that from you. Go ahead.
You are a brand.
Right.
And with that brand, you cannot maintain this brand, this Stephen A monster, by yourself. You cannot. So you need to have a team around you that is also protecting that brand. So anyone that is around you need to understand their job. We all got jobs to do when we get around you. You get these people that are yes men.
I don't have those. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Wait, hang on. Puffy, walking around doing what he's doing. He's got too many yes men around him. Spank is not a yes man. If Spank see you doing something wrong, like, yeah, dude, that ain't gonna work for me. Mark, me, like you said, me and Mark argue all the time, and I'm nowhere near in your stratosphere. But at the end of the day, if you doing something wrong, yo, dude, you wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why you wrong. At the end of the day, you have me, someone who knows you. Yeah, dude, that's not who we are. So if I see you doing something, and I'm like, yeah, no, dude, that's not gonna work. Yeah, I'm gonna pull your coattail on it because I have to protect that brand.
Just so I have to tell the audience, I have to tell on you about something. So I'm in the news over the last few weeks because of, presidential candidate, right?
Of course.
And my brother here, you understand what I'm saying, hard-working brother, working, grinding every day and night. Used to work in the hotels, now I work in the trucking business, all of this other stuff, right? Cardell, I'm telling you, you gotta go local first. You can't go for the presidency. You gotta go local first. And I said, yo, I ain't going local, please. You was like, shut the up. Listen to me, let me guide you.
Yes.
You understand? And I was like, you work in the trucking industry, man. It's not politics, but you telling me to let you guide me. You okay? That's what you were saying.
Exactly.
I want the world to know who I'm dealing with when I'm talking about one of my boys.
I'm very passionate about how I feel, and like I said, when this whole thing came up with you in politics, I'm like, yeah, I don't.
You were very nervous. You were very nervous.
I am, because I don't want none of these politicians to put you in a position where the brand is not protected. My job is to protect the brand. So now, with that being said,
well, who told you that was your job? I mean, I love you for it. I love you for it. Well, who told you that was your job? I love you for it. But how's that your job?
Who told me that's my job? Let me tell you, because I've been doing it before the Stephen A. was a brand. Okay. I've been protecting you that long. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, with all this extra going on with the brand, the Stephen A. brand.
So did you protect me when we were going to the club every weekend and we were doing what, we were living our life before? Before, we calmed down. Were you protecting me then?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
How were you protecting me then?
Because at the end of the day, right. what all the nonsense we were doing before the Stephen A. brand, it was a lot of women in a lot of trouble that brought a lot of unnecessary other men. So I'm like, he's not here by himself. Okay. He's not here by himself. So you're not gonna just approach him. So if you're approaching him, you're approaching me, you're approaching Bobby, you're approaching everybody.
The whole crew.
The whole crew. So you can't just walk up and approach him. That's not gonna happen.
That was his answer to the question, long-winded answer. Yeah. What about you, Spank?
I can't really speak in reference you to other celebrities, but I could say that me knowing you forever, you ain't changed. And like I tell everybody, your success did us a favor. Before you was yelling at 5, 10 of us. Now you arguing every day. For 5, 10 million people, now I can have a civilized conversation with your ass. You know what I'm saying? I can sit here, you called me before. Yo, I ain't hear from you. Where you been? What's going on? Now when he called, what up, dog? How you doing, man? Because he's tired of arguing and shit. That's right. You know what I mean? So from that standpoint,
argue that much? Are you still arguing?
All the time. Listen, I tell a story, right? I came into Winston-Salem State. I was the freshman. He was the upperclassman, right? And, you filling out the team and, people telling you who's who.
Y'all was on the bench together?
Pretty much under the bench. But what I would do is
It's true.
So when I'm playing with them and they telling me, hey, Steve is the shooter. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get the ball to the shooter. This motherfucker went 0 for 19. And then, when I pass him on the 20th, he makes it, and he start yelling, throw me the goddamn ball, I'm hot! I'm like, you 1 for 20, dog.
Actually, to be accurate, I was 0 for 12. I was 0 for 12, not 19. But he's right. That's exactly what I hit my 13th shot. Like,
it took a 13th shot. He got down.
Now he hot. But he does that today.
That's right.
You know what I mean? He does that same thing today.
Mark, you deal with a lot of celebrities. How's it different? Especially looking at me. The audience wants to know. I think I'm mild-mannered. I think I'm a pretty mild-mannered dude.
One of the things that I told you I don't like is you don't publicize the great deeds that you do behind the scenes.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And I know why you don't.
That's
I mean, we have argued about it. What you do is limited by why you're doing it. My motive is not to get press in this. My motive is to help people.
That's a fact.
But I personally believe certain things do need to be documented because it's encouraging to younger journalists to see the path that it takes, not just behind the desk and talking on the mic, but also just touching the common man and helping. So that's one of my problems I always had with you, and I told you that before. When we was in New Orleans and me and you and Shaq, and we was feeding the homeless, you didn't want to do interviews, because you felt that this wasn't the time and the place for it. But I just feel that in and of itself is who Stephen A. Smith is.
And let me piggyback on that. That's a great point, because I say the same thing to him, because it needs to be balanced out.
Correct.
Because, we always get the calls about him. Correct. And, oh, he's obnoxious, he's loud, he's this.
I was getting ready to say, what do they say?
And it's the same shit, But the stuff he does, people don't know about it.
Correct.
So when you hearing people say, oh, he's a sellout, he ain't
They
for
only
us.
have one perception.
They don't see that other side, but we can't argue with everybody on those phone calls about what he's doing behind the scenes.
Correct.
Because a lot of stuff that he's reporting and talking about players, they're thinking it's a personal attack. But behind the scenes, this dude is helping a lot of players, man, a lot of people.
I mean, he helped me. And the irony of it is, I know several players that you done help behind the scene to get to a certain point, and you never bring it up.
Right.
You never throw it out there.
Nope.
And
some of it he can't, but some of it he can't.
Well, some of it you can't, and some of it you won't, because you did it to help them, not to help them and then talk about I help you. And that's honorable. But in some cases, I call you and I'll be like, yo, man, won't you blast?
Yeah.
You do.
Won't you go on blast? What's wrong?
Yeah.
And you like, nah, dog, I ain't gonna do that.
I go deeper on a personal level. So y'all know my story. I lost my wife for 30 years. I lost my entire family. So I went from a house full of life to being the only life in the house. So Steve will call me and be like, hey, I'm checking on you. Anything I can do? And I said, man, we good. Just as long as you know I live alone, but I'm never lonely when you hitting me. This dude will call me, hey, meet me at the airport. We going to Vegas. Yo, meet me at the airport. We going to Colorado for Deion Sanders' first home game.
Right.
This is the stuff he does, but he will never talk about it. But I agree with you. He needs to talk about it more, because it balances him out. Because he gets too much of the dominant, oh, he's nothing. He's, he's just arrogant. He's loudmouth and all of that. Balance it out.
But should we, going beyond me, shouldn't we have alligator skin? Shouldn't we be, look at how we go at each other. We argue all the time. Me and Carter argue every day. Everybody be like, man, how y'all argue like that? I'm like this. That's my man. I've never known him to be any other way. That's Cardell. Me and Spank, that damn laugh, make me want to throw him out my damn house. You understand what I'm saying? But damn it, that's my man. You too.
But that's the teachable moment right there. Because most young kids don't understand you have to have tough skin.
Yeah.
If you really want to be successful in this world, you have to be able to take a lot. And unfortunately, that's the part that's missing in the classroom.
Or at home.
Or
with
at
the
home.
boys.
Or at home.
I blame social media for that.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, social media is a wonderful outlet and a wonderful tool, but it takes no discipline to obtain it. Anybody could get a mic and have a podcast. There's no discipline to it. You have to climb. You have to understand what's going on and what type of attention you're bringing to yourself when you do get on social media. This is why you got so many people divorced and single, and everybody on social media is single. Why is everybody single?
It's been like that.
Because no, it ain't been like that. It's getting worse. Because at the end of the day, it's so many options. It's so many options. Everybody,
and you caught up in thinking there's a better option out there all the time
Always.
instead of looking
And
at grass being green at home.
Exactly.
But it comes back to when we talk about friendship and stuff and being hard and tough skin. I always say it's about balance, man. You got to have that tough skin and you got to have that other side as well. You know what I mean? It's balance. We're not good friends if we don't argue.
Right.
It's easy to be friends and say that's my boy, but when it get hard,
When you all agree. But
when you disagree, that tells you your real friendship.
But that does not come easy. That
Nothing
doesn't come
comes
easy.
Nothing.
At the end of the day, me and Steve gonna argue. We gonna do that.
Automatic.
We gonna do that. But at the end of the day, nobody else better not argue. Nobody
That's
else
right.
better not
That's
say
a
nothing about
fact.
it. I can do
That's
that.
a fact.
You can. And that's something that we have developed That's something the first time I met Mark, I was like, man, I ain't never letting this dude out of my life. Because the crazy thing is, he looked at me like I had two heads, and I'm looking at him. The first time I hung out with Mark had a gentleman's club, and I'm thinking this the club, and I'm like,
you mean when you were at the strip club and you had a
It was
honey
a
on
gentleman's club.
you had a honey on one lap and you had chicken wings in your hand.
Because
and
that
you
was
eat
the
some chicken wings while you
BBW
had a
club.
stripper. You mean that?
Yeah.
You mean this? Gentleman club my ass.
That was
It
the
called whatever you
that
want.
was their
We got-
club, the
we got-
BBW.
I know this. I know
The
that.
big
Trust
back.
me. We got some, hold on, we got
That's
some
why
bills
he
to
had
pay.
chicken
We got some
wings.
bills to pay when we come back.
Yeah,
Before
it's a big back.
I do this last segment with them, when we come back from the break, I'm gonna give y'all something to think about right now to bring up when we come back from the break. What story were y'all dying to come on this show and talk about what you saw? Just think about that for a second and have an answer for me when I get back. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show with my boys, from the crew in the house. Back with more in a minute. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Free Flowing Friday with my boys, Mark Stevens, Spank, AKA Gary Stevens, and my man Cardell. 52 years we've been boys. Me and this brother Spank go back over 35 now.
Yes.
And my man Mark is about 30. So we good with that. Let me ask y'all this question. Y'all saw a lot of stuff percolating in the news over the last few weeks. And y'all been wanting to come on my show for a while. Especially you, Mark, with Cardell, because of how much y'all argue over relationships and all of that other stuff. What's the one thing that y'all were dying to talk about on this show?
You and LeBron.
Oh, shit.
You and LeBron.
What do you want to talk about, man?
So the irony of it is, me and Cardell, we was talking early, and he was like, I believe Michael Jordan is the greatest. And I said, of his era. I said, he even said it in a 2009 interview. He said he never played against the Wilt Chamberlains or the Oscar Robertsons, so he can't say he's the GOAT of all time. He can say he's the GOAT of his era. And I told him, I said, I think that LeBron is the GOAT undoubtedly of his era. And he said, that comes with some debate. And I said, what you mean that comes with some debate? Like, it's not even close. I said, Stephen A. even said he believes he's the second. I said, I believe he's the best of this era. And he says, well, I believe it can be an argument with KD.
No.
I'm just telling you what he said.
I think KD is one of the greatest scorers in the history of basketball. Mm-hmm. But his resume does not compare to LeBron James. It's just a fact.
I agree.
It's just a fact. And when it comes to the GOAT, I don't have any problem, before I pass it to you, Cardell, I don't have any problem with a dude not wanting to compare himself to people who came before him. But I don't have any problem with a dude who wants to compare himself to those who followed him. Because there was a path that was set. And that road to prosperity, that road that you had to travel, you're entitled to take that into consideration when you play the role in paving the road. That may be deemed a bit easier than what you had to go through for successors who followed. And when you do that and you still don't equate to what your predecessor did, then you don't get to usurp them. Right. If I've been in the league for 13 years and I got 6 chips and you had 4 in year 22, you don't get to have GOAT status over me. When I'm a 10-time scoring champion and you did it once, you don't get to have that over me. When I'm sitting around and I'm a 9-time all-defensive player, okay, and you at least 4 to 5 years short, you don't get to usurp me. Now when I'm the successor and I paved the road, I can't speak to what came before me because that's a road. But what followed was a road that I helped pave for you. And when you don't eclipse what I've done, you don't get GOAT status.
So let me play devil advocate.
Go ahead.
Because I have this argument in barbershops all the time.
Right.
It was a time, it was no dribbling the basketball.
Okay.
all you could do was pass and shoot.
Which is the predecessor. This is
Everything
previous
had to evolve.
I agree.
Right.
That's why I said not the past.
The mindset of the game had to evolve. Was a time friends didn't play together. They wasn't cozy with one another.
Right.
Right.
That was my argument.
The game, the culture of the game has evolved. What I'm saying is, what we see LeBron doing at 40, he has evolved the game that I believe in.
He's the GOAT of longevity.
Yeah.
Not production.
Right.
Not production. Next up, Mark, your argument, you just lost. Just give it.
Yeah.
Just give it
Right there. Well, let me say, recently, I've always said it was Jordan, whatever, but I had to think about something. I saw Carmelo Anthony said something in a clip. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, 19-time All-Star.
Not only that,
6-time league MVP.
we talk about longevity, right? This dude only lost 2 games from high school until he got to the NBA.
That's right. 2 games.
And then think about,
But he won 7-2.
yeah, but listen.
And you didn't have people that size going up against him.
That's true, but you had Wilt and Bill Russell and them guys, to Mark's point, it evolved. Kareem evolved it. But let's talk about his productivity and efficiency.
Right.
He never dribbled that ball up the court
Right.
like any of these other guys.
That's right.
Guys had to get him the ball.
That's true.
And he did, I think he had 1 3-pointer
That's
his
right.
entire
Which
career.
is why we say
and he
that.
had the longevity, the long-term all-time scorer.
Carlo don't even need to get involved.
That's
in this.
something,
Let me say
that's
this.
something deep.
Let me transition. What story did you want to tell? Did you want to come up? Is there a story that's been out there over the last few weeks that you wanted to touch on the show?
Yeah, your political career. Because let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because you and I talk, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh man, I have no desire for this and this that." And then all of a sudden, the text is filled with articles of look at this, look at that. And then one time he said, "Oh, I changed my mind." I said, "This is not real, right? This is fake news." No, I'm entitled to change my mind.
Yeah. I think you make a good candidate.
No. I'm not gonna close the door. I'm gonna leave the door open. That's what you
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the door
open.
Dude, it's a draft. What you gonna do? You gonna leave it open or close it?
Time out. Here's the fella. First of all, y'all should know me better than trying to tell me what the hell to do.
That's
I
what
ain't
we
gonna
are.
listen to that. I'm gonna do what I want to do. That's number 1. Number 2, what's the urgency? I ain't got to make a decision before 2027. I got time. Number 3, I just signed my contract. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I were to announce my candidacy for the presidency of the United States of America, I would have to basically surrender the rest of my contract to walk away from this money that I worked very, very hard over the years to earn. I'd have to walk away from all of that to run for the presidency. All I'm saying is I can't imagine I would do that, but my pastor, elected officials, fans in the streets, friends, people like that have said, yo, leave the door open. Because here's what I know I do want to do. I love talking politics and social commentary. The Joe Rogans of the world and people like that. That I'm qualified for. And I love to do that. So at the very least, I'd be in the mix discussing these matters with elected officials and potential elected officials, and it all vibes with one another. But if the world was in a very, very bad state and I had to look at the landscape and I felt that I could take them, I would consider it. And I will say this to you in all seriousness. And I still don't have that interest like that because I like my money.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
But I don't think that I'm talking on the national, I'm not talking about governors like Shapiro in Pennsylvania, Westmore in Maryland, people like that. But I think outside of those 2, there ain't a Democrat out there I can't beat. I really believe that.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
And the traditionalists, I think what Trump has done, the traditional way is it has to be broken.
It's over.
It has to be broken for the Democratic Party.
We was just talking about this in the airport. I said, right now, Trump just got there. You got 4 years. They're going to take 2 of these years right now to figure out what's going to happen with the political party. That's what they're going to do. You just signed your contract, no problem. Which means 2 years, they're going to figure it out, and then 2 years later, they got to prep somebody. Dude, you fighting it.
I'm fighting what? You telling me to run?
Listen.
What are you saying? What are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying.
I already told you on the phone.
What I'm telling you is this. What I'm telling you is this. If the world can elect someone who did not have a political background like Donald Trump, the world also elected
What you mean?
Ronald Reagan, who had no political.
Well, he was a governor of California before that.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was an actor.
He was an actor. That's what he was known for. Nobody knew him as a governor. At the end of the day, the world is changing. Like you said, everything has to evolve.
So you saying you think I could win?
I'm telling you right now, if you took it serious, if you took it serious, and a political party actually took it serious and backed you.
See, I don't think the Democratic Party would ever back me. That's the issue. But if straight up it was about appealing to the fans out there, could I beat them? Yes, I could. I most certainly believe I could.
You got an endorsement. You got an endorsement from the president himself.
Nah, I mean, I don't know if that's good news or bad news.
You
I
can
told
say
you on
whatever
the
you want.
phone.
Yeah.
Your name is out there, you were endorsed.
If he's your political consultant, you're gonna be the mayor of Ronkonkoma.
Let me ask you this question.
Let me ask you this question.
I'm gonna go down the line with y'all. How do you feel about Donald Trump, Mark Stevens? Money Mark, how you feel about Donald Trump?
He's an anomaly. He dances to his own beat. He's not a traditionalist. I do believe that the Democratic Party, unfortunately, they had no bullpen. And that's why it's talks of Stephen A. Smith, because the Democratic, we have a bad bullpen when it comes down to the Democratic Party. I believe it's still a little too early. I looked at the economy. The economy is growing, along with unemployment being down. But we have to wait and see what happens with all these tariffs over the next.
Doubt.
So I think a good evaluation would be in the midterm, 2 years.
What about you, Spank?
Trump is different, you know. I give him respect for, you know, going into a space that he had no career in, no background in, and able to get to the highest position. But the problem with that is that he's tooting at his own horn and he's pushing his own agenda. I'm a little afraid that, you know, it's the people, the average people that's going to suffer big time.
What about you, Cutter?
I think Trump has gotten in the office and he's shaking things up, and everybody's a little scared because of things being shaken up. People are afraid of change and new things. Do I think he's the best thing since sliced bread? No.
How do y'all feel? All of us up here, brothers, black men, none of us are quote unquote registered Republicans or anything like that, but in the same breath, we ain't up here calling them racist. We ain't up here calling black folks who support him sellouts and stuff. We don't engage in that kind of rhetoric. We've always been that way. People don't believe me when I say that, but we've always been that way. How do you feel about a whole bunch of people out there who buy the lines from the Democrats hook, line, and sinker in terms of, yo, this is what he is. He's despicable. He's racist. He's this, he's that. I don't get caught up in that. I'm not about the person. I'm about the policy. As a matter of fact, I think the only reason I voted against him was because I don't like the way he does things. And then I said to myself, damn, I'm tired of being a victim to a person or their personality determining whether I vote for them or not. I really, really need to look at policies and what works for us and what doesn't. How do y'all feel about us as a community?
I can always talk about my experience. I have met him before, and it was a pleasant introduction. Nothing made me feel uncomfortable. I do believe that it is I call it a mass psychology on both sides to make you want to pick one or the other.
Right.
And if you don't pick one, then that means you're totally against the other.
Right.
And if you point out something right that someone has done, then they bring up a whole bunch of other things that the person has done wrong. It's just mass psychology on both sides.
Cut up.
I think I grew up believing that whoever was a Democrat, that's who you voted for, until I got old enough to start using my own mind. And I don't think the Democratic Party has poor people or middle class people in the best interest. I think you should vote for whatever your issues are and whoever's gonna take care of those issues for you.
I'll address it this way. When you say like black men, I don't get too caught up in the political spectrum because America's been America forever. You know, we always had the same plight and fights forever, whether it was a Democrat or a Republican play. We just got to do better as far as, you know, figuring out how we can, you know, thrive in this atmosphere as black men. You know what I mean?
Before I let y'all get on out of here, gave y'all a whole hour. We rapping or hanging with one another. My boys, y'all are welcome back. Y'all didn't do bad. You know what I'm saying? I gotta admit it. Y'all didn't do bad. So y'all are welcome back. But let me ask you this question before I let y'all get out of here. What is it that you would like me to address in the future when you think about this show and the kind of topics you want me touching on as I talk to the American people? Because I'm all about the American people. Okay? What is it that you want me to make sure that I touch on? Or you want me to make sure I avoid?
And you don't think that's a politician right there? That's what you're telling me.
That's what I'm asking. I'm just asking. Cardell, I'll start with you and come down the line.
What do I want you to touch on?
And what do you want me to avoid? We're going to end the show on that.
To be totally honest with you, I don't want you to avoid anything.
Good.
I think you should touch on anything and everything that affects people. One of the things we were talking about Trump real quick. One of the things that I respect about it, he's fearless, and that's one of the things I like about you. You're fearless. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to touch on anything. Period.
So I agree. Keep doing what you're doing, being who you are. If anything, I ask, I always say this, like, you got to loosen up sometime, man. You got to dress up every goddamn time, man. Put on some sweat, like, ESPN.
I do it. Sometimes I have it. I have it not on ESPN.
I,
I'm on national television, my brother.
Yeah, I understand, but this is your platform now.
That's true, too, but I don't have time to change.
ESPN,
I'll be wanting to be changing wardrobes for the podcast.
You got teams, man. You get you a stylist or somebody, man.
Get you a stylist.
A stylist?
Yeah,
a stylist, really, that's what we doing?
Well, we got the ones with these pastel colors you get, man. I don't know about that one.
I know you're not hating on my wardrobe, man. My wardrobe's pretty fly.
The seasonal ones, yeah. Some of them, a majority, yeah. But one time we turned in the NBA Countdown. You look like the Easter Bunny. We was getting on you in that chat.
Y'all were getting on me, but I didn't believe you. I didn't believe you. And I got a suit that's gonna make me look like Dick Tracy. But I'm telling you, it's gonna work.
Lord.
It's gonna work. You watch.
I'm
Go ahead, Mark.
ashamed you said that.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
I think you don't need to stay away from anything.
That's right.
Anything that's a public display of ignorance or laughter. Right. It's helpful to laugh at certain things.
That's right.
So I don't think you need to stay away from
These folks
either.
here be stopping me from getting at people because I be wanting to get at people's asses when they sit up there and they try to insult me or they come at me and they stop me. Y'all don't, but I wonder if y'all would if I went at people.
Nah, I don't like that.
You don't like that?
I don't like
You don't
that.
like me clapping back at nobody?
Nah. Yeah. Sometimes you stepping below. I got caught up in the middle of your crossfire in one of your things, okay? I got caught up in the middle of it.
He was wrong. He was wrong. He didn't have his facts.
I got that.
Right.
I got that. But you notice me and Monte was on that phone with you to the end.
That's right.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Don't do it. When you get to a certain point, Saul, you know this, bro.
Right.
Sometimes you got to let the people talk, man.
By the way, you didn't tell me that about LeBron, though. We didn't do that about LeBron.
Well, I didn't know about the LeBron until I saw it.
I had no damn regrets about that.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Cardell, real quick. Go ahead.
Once again, I think you should address everything. I think you should know when to stop. I'm going to address it. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna move on from it. I'm not gonna keep going on about it. But there is nothing you should not address. Nothing.
Mark, last word.
He said it because I told you even with the LeBron piece, like once you addressed it, that should have been the end of it.
Right.
Just keep it going. Nah.
But here's the thing about your LeBron thing. You didn't know that incident was going to happen.
That's that.
And you did not want to say nothing until everybody else addressed it.
That's true.
So
Which
let's put that on the table.
Which he didn't believe.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I got news for you. I was really, really nice. People don't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me. I could have been
Stay off the goat. Stay off the goat.
I could have, no, ain't no goat. That's Michael Jordan. Make no mistake about it. That's Michael Jordan. I got to get on out of here. Y'all had a good time, man?
Great time, bro.
Had a good time.
Outstanding time.
Had a good time.
Good seeing
Y'all
you,
didn't do bad. I mean, y'all a little bit too mellow at times and stuff like that. You didn't let your personalities come out. But I figure I'm introducing you to the audience, stuff like that. I'm going to have y'all back. What, Cardell?
We gotta protect the brand. We just can't keep showing out.
Rashawn is up there jumping for joy right now, sitting up there, protect the brand, protect the brand. That's what Sumatra says all the time. You got to protect the brand. You know what I'm saying?
Protect the brand.
Worldwide West.
Protect the asset. What's up with you in Worldwide West? Why you keep bringing them up? Could they win tonight?
No.
Could they win tonight?
Yes, they can win tonight.
All right, I'm just saying. Why don't you say it then? Why you keep bringing his name out on Front Street? They might lose tonight.
Let me say this.
They better not lose. They're going to win.
Let me say this. Worldwide West, as an EVP, and Leon Rose has turned that organization around.
That's true.
Right?
But I got news for you. It's their best shot to win the championship in 30 years,
Yes,
number one.
Correct.
And number two, it's going to be their best shot to win the championship in a while if they don't get it done.
That's right.
This is the best chance the New York Knicks have had in 30 years to win a championship.
The league is
because they
open.
could beat Indiana and they could give OKC or Denver or Minnesota a run for their money.
Correct.
This is their best shot.
The league
this is
open.
it.
The league is open.
Let's do it.
Spank, Money Mark, my boys in the house. I had a good time. I hope y'all had a good time. Free Flow on Friday right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. I flew my boys in the house to show up and join me. I really appreciate it. They didn't do bad. I got to admit that. I might have to look at them in the future. They might get a check from me. Who knows? Who knows? Till next week, y'all. Enjoy your weekend. God bless. Stephen A. Signing off.